This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having my friend Harry Singh, who is the founder and CEO and evangelist from CrossFit NYC. Harry, welcome to Halo Talks.
Thank you.
So we both spent a lot of time on Long Island, and I know that you used to run the Dairy Barns. So from Dairy Barns to CrossFit, maybe give our listeners a little background on your illustrious career, and now you've got two CrossFit NYC, and you're helping a lot of people get the results they want. And I'm sure it wasn't always an easy journey. So tell us your story, and we can talk and give some people some tips along the way.
Well, I was with Dairy Barn almost my entire career. I was president for the last 15 or 18 years, and this crazy CrossFit thing started in New York, and I joined. So I wasn't one of the founders. I came in shortly thereafter, but we never thought we'd get 30 people and be able to pay, $3,000 a month rent. It was a real high, low probability of success, but I wanted to see it last. And when I joined, we were the 16th affiliate in the world. So
Wow.
Everyone was on their own. And so I bought out one of the early partners for not a lot of money. And then who knew? CrossFit took off.
And you're friends with from Glassman from the beginning. So how did that connectivity with the not necessarily the franchisor, but the owner of the license and the movement, how did that help you feel like, you were, in the right boat, and that, all these things were happening to the brand and, helping you build a real business?
Well, I didn't know that we were building a real business, and I wasn't counting on it being a real business. That was a pleasant surprise. I did know Glassman fairly well early on. So much got done through the website and through the comments and through the daily posts. And probably just before I got involved, Greg Glassman would literally get on the phone Sunday night with all the affiliates in the world, all 12 of them, and talk about, impossible problems like, where do you buy bumper plates? Nobody sells bumper plates in where I live, or all kinds of problems like that. So we were lucky enough that we really got to hear a lot of how Glassman thinks about the CrossFit and what the objective is, straight from the horse's mouth, really right from the beginning. And as it's gotten bigger and bigger, what's interesting to me is he's not saying anything different today with 15,000 affiliates than he was saying when we had 15 affiliates. So it's been interesting.
So when you got involved, and for the listeners here that don't know, CrossFit is a certification, and once you get through the certification, you're allowed to use the CrossFit name. So there's really no exclusivity on territories. It's basically the more the merrier in all these different areas. So from a business standpoint, there's probably some concern about, okay, well, what if somebody opens up across the street from me? At the same time, when you create a movement, you don't necessarily want to put, artificial barriers around how many people you can help, because, there's an initiative to get people to live healthier lives and stronger. So how did you think about that, given your, business background, and, saying, hey, I get it, but, I also, there's also some like business governance that, I'm letting go to the side, by buying into this?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? So there's no exclusivity, but there's no $250,000 fee up front.
Right.
We pay $500 a year for our affiliate fee at CrossFit NYC, and that's the sum total of what we pay CrossFit. So it didn't come with a great deal of risk that way. I knew from listening carefully to Glassman from the early days exactly what his position was going to be, and it was going to be more or less, it's the survival of the fittest. Mm-hmm. And I, Glassman, don't know exactly what will make your affiliate in Manhattan work better or worse than anyone else's. I'll give you my best advice, and other people are going to come, and the best of you will be around. that approach works, right? Because now affiliate fees are $5,000 a year.
Right. Still not a big barrier
but you know, you collect that. I'm not doing his math, and I don't really care. But the business grew tremendously. What I thought early on was, this is an industry that has no barriers to entry. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do you win in an industry that has no barriers to entry? I mean, basically you have to be more efficient and be better at it than anyone else is going to be. So one of the decisions that I made early on was we were going to do only CrossFit. So a lot of affiliates do CrossFit plus yoga, CrossFit plus martial arts. I decided, no, there's 10,000 yoga studios in New York, and I didn't want to be number 10,002 and not do it as well as anyone else. But right now there's one CrossFit in New York, and someday there'll be 25, and I could probably be the best of those 25. So let me do that. And that's been our strategy from day one. So when people say, well, what about, you want to go do yoga? I'm not knocking you, but we also don't have tennis courts.
Right.
This is who we are, and this is what we do. And I knew in New York, you know, there's enough people that would want that. You know, and this is the triathlon capital of the world, because you've just got way disproportionate number of type A personalities that want to do hard stuff, that want the best or the most authentic. So that's where we settled, and that strategy's worked.
So when you look at, I always, when I'm out west, I always go to In-N-Out Burger, and I'm fascinated by, like, they've never had an urge to, like, add more products or drinks, you know, food or drinks to the menu. You know, just stuck with, you know, this is what we do. You got 6 choices. You know, when you look at CrossFit NYC, and you've seen some other affiliates, and you've seen some other boot camps, you know, proliferate, but it seems like, you know, when I went to your location, you've got people that are, you know, believe in the, you know, it's almost like the empirical formula, and like you don't really mess with the formula. So how has that helped you get a member base that's, you know, continues to thrive and tell their friends, you know, look, this is my place, and I go there 3-4 days a week, and then there's a lot of noise, but, you know, CrossFit is CrossFit, and, you know, people don't like to deviate from it once they're in it.
Well, first off, you asked how I got the formula. It turns out that in CrossFit there actually is a formula that we don't spend a lot of time talking about it because it's a little too theoretical, but Glassman asked and answered a question that none of the other boutique gyms around us have asked or even tried to answer, and that is, what is fitness? Mm-hmm. And it's not a rhetorical question. Everyone's answer, if you really press them long enough and hard enough, is sort of a variant of the quip from the Supreme Court Justice. I don't know what pornography, I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. Glassman actually said fitness is work capacity, work being the ability to apply force to move something a distance for varying durations of time and in varying ways. It's a boring, perhaps, explanation, but it leads to a methodology that says you really need to learn to move in a lot of ways. You need to be able to move a lot of different things, lots of different weights, lots of different durations, lots of different exercises. You need to be able to bike and run and jump and move from one to the other. That inherently gives a tremendous amount of variation. If you walk into XYZ boot camp, at any given moment, you're doing one of 7 things, probably, right? You get on the treadmill first or last, you swing the pink kettlebell, or you step up, or whatever it is. And it's certainly something. With CrossFit, we're left with a tremendous amount of movements and a lot of instruction that goes into it. So right off the bat, you get a different type of personality. It's the type of person who says, I'm not good at that. I can't do that. I'm weak in that area. This is a challenge for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to immediately take the course at school that I'm good at, and then find a way to get 41 of those classes without ever having to take anything that remotely challenges me. So it self-selects for a personality, I think, that's willing to say, I suck at this. Because trust me, even up to the games winning athletes, they were all astonished somewhere along the line. Rich Froning won the games 4 times and fell off the rope at the games the first time he tried to climb. And there are a million stories like that. So we get that personality, and there's enough of that personality in New York. And we also get a tremendous number of people that are like foodies. I want to try that brand of fitness. And they come and they join for a month and 2 months, and then they move on to the next thing that has better lights or better looking coaches on the website or whatever may be next for them. But we've been able to fill our place with people that want to do this.
How much easier is it to hire, instructors and trainers when, they believe exactly what you believe?
Well, it's probably, we have 26 people on staff, and probably 23 of them started out as members of our affiliate, and the other 3 started out as members of other affiliates. Many of them have areas of expertise of, specialization. We have people that are really knowledgeable on the Olympic lifts, really knowledgeable on kettlebell swings. So they're all deeply knowledgeable in their own way. But yes, they believe in CrossFit as a methodology, or enough that they certainly can explain it and teach it well.
And when you looked at, CrossFit partnering with Reebok, and I remember they used to have those commercials where it was like a helicopter and they had like this big container that they dropped off, and it had like all the CrossFit gear in like Africa and Asia. How did that make you feel when you're like, hey, I was like one of the first 20, and now this look at what's been created, and part of it's because of obviously the original affiliates.
I'm perfectly fine with it. The publicity that CrossFit's gotten over the years has only helped our affiliate, and I benefited from the model, the leased rents model that Glassman created, where we pay minimal fee and other people pay minimal fees to be affiliated with CrossFit, and I think it's all been fine. It's made CrossFit close to being a household word. If I ask the next 10 people that I run into if they've ever heard of CrossFit, probably 6 or 8 have, and that certainly was not the case in 2007.
Sure. So as you look to the future here, you've got 2 locations, great locations, one in the Nomad area, which is continuing to get built up. And then Columbus Circle obviously is, went through a whole, development process there. Do you look at those 2 locations, say, okay, I'm going to continue to optimize and add more classes there? Do you look at, opportunities in and around other parts of the area? Do you have members saying, hey, look, I come from far away. Can you bring a CrossFit, with this type of, environment to me? Or do you feel like, come to us and we've got 2 great locations and those are going to stand the last of time,
Pretty much, I think I'm happy with the 2 locations we have. There may be some economies of scale or scope of putting together a few other CrossFits that are primarily CrossFit that follow a similar philosophy, but I'm not looking to open up another one. And the answer to the question is, I live on the Upper East Side. Why don't you be there? Well, there is one there.
Right. When you look at, CrossFit and you talk about some of the things that are going on the workout recovery side, do you see CrossFit kind of evolving into or taking advantage of some of the opportunities to, basically help your community not only work out, but also recover, whether that's infrared sauna, whether that's Normatec? How do you think about that as like the holistic view of, here's everything we can provide to you and the food and so on and so forth? Or do you say, look, we're your workout regimen and get the rest of your lifestyle from from other areas?
I think the latter, and I think it's consistent with our original approach that we don't do yoga and other stuff. CrossFit has a position on diet, and it's very simple. That basically you should get sugar out of your life, eat meat, fish, or equivalent proteins, fruits, vegetables, little starch, no sugar. But we don't get into selling powders or potions or recovery this or there are other people that do that. Mm-hmm. Maybe they do it well. I don't know, but that's not my area of specialty.
Got it.
And I'm not going to do it.
So when you look back to how you ran Dairy Barn, getting an MBA from Columbia and, actually putting like your business principles around, do you think that's one of the reasons why you've been able to, run 2 profitable businesses in Manhattan and, that background was helpful versus the average, studio operator around the country that may have been an instructor but never used QuickBooks before, or, if some of the business principles made you a better affiliate or a better business?
I think knowing something about business certainly helps. And there's always the trap with small businesses that, gee, I really like to cook, so obviously I should have a restaurant. Or I like to bake, and obviously I should have my own brand of cupcakes. So it definitely helps knowing, what a profit loss statement looks like, what sustainability looks like, what government regulations look like. All that was helpful. I mean, I see a very, very wide range on successful affiliate owners. Some of them do come from a business background. Some of them come from coaching backgrounds, and they're just really, really great coaches, and people will follow them off the edge of the earth. There's a wide range on why people succeed, just like some restaurants succeed because that really is a great chef, and he or she figured out how to make it work. And sometimes there are really good corporate restaurants that figure it out, and sometimes you want to just get In-N-Out Burger, and there's just a range on what works and what backgrounds work.
So as you think over the next couple of years, where do you see CrossFit as a lifestyle, and do you see people coming in and doing more, 5Ks and mini triathlons and coming into your locations and saying, look, I might not necessarily be preparing for a CrossFit event, but I'm preparing for something that's similar to it, and you're basically known as the authority on, getting into that type of physical condition and mental, I guess, too.
CrossFit still has a bit of a scary reputation, so there's definitely a lot of people that are, I can run 100 miles across the desert, but I'm not going to CrossFit. Those people are crazy. There's a range of that, and I think that's fading. I think the CrossFit Games both improved the image of CrossFit and also made it a little bit more terrifying, because people look at what goes on at the CrossFit Games and think, "Oh my God, are you that's insane." They just swam 4 miles and now they're walking across on their hands before they start the deadlift ladder. And it is terrifying. I mean, I know those people, and it's terrifying. But that really is the high end of the methodology. Those are the NFL players of the sport, and those are the Major League Baseball players of the sport.
Yeah, good analogy.
And you can really enjoy Little League, and you can really get good at tennis without going through what it takes to be on the court at the U.S. Open. And same thing is true of CrossFit. And people are seeing it more and more. And CrossFit is really, I think, shifting its focus in its advertising and its marketing more towards the general public. And I mentioned to Glassman the last time I saw him that in this shift, I was reminded of a quip from Alan Dershowitz, who said, of criminal lawyers, you can't make a living defending innocent people because there aren't enough of them. And similarly, I'm not going to make a living running CrossFit Games athletes training.
Sure.
There's just not enough of them. And if there are 4 of them within 50 miles of here, I'm never going to have more than 1 or 2 or none. So, it's great to have innocent clients, but we got to deal with people that have 40 years old, have injuries, that need to lose 100 pounds. There are just plenty of people that benefit from intensity and good movement and a full range of exercises that aren't going to get anywhere near the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, well, I think the more and more of the boot camps that proliferate and the high intensity interval training. It seems like more and more of these concepts are moving more towards a CrossFit, which I think would benefit you because you're already there at as known as the workout of choice if you're willing to work for it. So I think the market's kind of swinging back. Like Gold's Gym used to be like, oh, well, that's too hardcore. Now, like the market's swung back towards Gold's Gym, and it seems like it's swinging back towards CrossFit as well, at least in my mind.
I do think that a lot of boutique gyms have taken stuff that you recognize as part of CrossFit, the intensity, primarily I would say intensity, and miss what CrossFit's really about, which is coaching and teaching and getting people to learn to do movements and modalities that they don't know how to do. So I look at a lot of the boutique places that are, well, let's measure intensity. How about a heart monitor and online graphics? And certainly that matters, but teaching people to row correctly matters also. Mm-hmm. And I often say to people when they discuss their favorite gym, when's the last time you walked out of there and said, I learned something today?
Right.
Tell me what you learned in spin, the last 300 spin classes.
I learned a couple of new pop songs.
There you go.
Thank you. No, I actually am astonished that a lot of these groups they don't teach you how to do, even if they have people around, but they're not focused on actually like teaching you how you should ride the bike or how you should do the rower, because that posture means everything to actually getting the workout done properly.
Right, and that turns out to be very hard to do on a scale in a class to do efficiently. And another one of my analogies is, there's schools that are teaching physics, and there are places to get physics for poets. And physics for poets is certainly more physics than nothing, but it's not the hard work of what teaching physics is. CrossFit's not physics, but there's hard work teaching people to lift stuff correctly. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work. Everyone's built differently, has different length. Bone structure, has to get their spine in the right spot. Who wants to deal with that when I can just turn on the candles and the music and people love me.
Turn up the heat as well, right?
And turn up the heat and everyone measures. Or there's a trend to measure the efficiency of your workout by how much you sweated.
Right. Well, it's great to have you on Halo Talks. I think people, have learned some things that they needed to know about, how to stick true to the brand, to stick true to the workout, and the benefits that has of building a business that you have a lot of clarity on what the business is and where the business is going and who you're serving. Wish you continued success. Hopefully we can work together and we'll get you on some of our Halo events. And I'll try and get to more CrossFit now that I'm a couple blocks away.
We won't talk about how far along you are or not so far.
Early stages of my CrossFit experience. So I owe that back to you as a gesture for you coming on the show. So
thank you for having me.
Great to see you again, Harry.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks.